Good morning, everyone. This is Servium calling. Welcome to the next in our series of INOOT webinars. I need one of those. So today, it's the next in the series, and we're partnering with Dell EMC today, talking about live optics, which is a great way to analyze your systems and provide reporting and understanding capabilities and performance. And today we are joined by Nick Eastwell. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. So hopefully everyone who's registered early, you've got your crunchies. So put your feet up, relax. The usual format for the webinars that we'll present. We have got a live demo today. We'll take questions and answers towards the end. And we'll also do a poll, get some feedback from you as well. So thank you for taking the time out. The purpose, like I say, part of creating great experiences, help you make informed decisions about what's happening in technology, what's happening in the marketplace, and so on. So today, 30th of August, what's it noted for in history? Well, 1972, Cameron Diaz, famous for Shrek, The Mask, Something About Mary, was born in Long Beach, California. For the cricketers out there, 1979, Ian Botham made 1,000 runs, 100 wickets in tests in his 21st match. 2003, Charles Bronson, famous American actor from The Dirty Dozen, Death Wish, died at age 81. 2015, the English author Frederick Forsyth, famous for the Day of the Jackal, actually revealed he worked for MI6 for more than 20 years. And a year ago, Argentina's central bank raised interest rates to 60% in an attempt to stabilize the peso. So that's the 30th of August in history, but importantly for us, it's INOOT Day. So let's start proceedings off. So a little bit of background for the new attendees about Servium, what we're all about. Like I say, we talk about creating great experiences, but ultimately we put you at the center of everything we do as your troubleshooter. We walk in your shoes. And we do that by adding a lot of value. We have a great account management team. We're very accessible. We're very nimble, agile. And we're sort of very straight talking, practical as well. And our approach is very much, no matter how small, how large your challenge is, working with you throughout the life cycle of that challenge. So the strategy, design, implementation, support. But I think the most important part for us is the review. Once we've delivered a project, have we done it successfully, on time, and within budget? And we do that via our services ecosystem. It's a tremendous amount of resource, breadth and depth that you have access to as our customers. And again, today's an example of how we're using our partners to help deliver that value through our ecosystem. And there's a lot of services that we can provide you as well from that ecosystem, and some examples on the screen there. So today, looking at the Servium Pathfinder, we're sort of focusing on sort of three sort of key areas: the compute, the data, and the networking side of things. And that's what Dell Live Optics is all about. So there's a background for this morning. So what I'll do now is hand you over to Nick, who's our subject matter expert today, to talk a little bit more detail and facilitate the live demo, Nick. So I'll hand the floor to you.
Great, thank you, Steve. Good morning, everyone. And as Steve said, I work with the Dell EMC portfolio. We're going to have a look at live optics today and just take you through a quick agenda. Could you just give me control, Steve?
Yeah, sorry about that. There you
go. No, still can't move the slides.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Okay. So yeah, quick agenda. Basically what we're going to do is have a look at live optics. We're going to have a look at what it is, what it does, and have a look at some of the types of uses. I mean, there's a whole bunch, but people use it for different things, but we'll have a look at some of the use cases. We'll have a look at some of the features. We'll have a look at how it works. We'll talk about the collectors. That's how you gather the data. And then we're going to have a quick demo at the end. We'll have a look at running a collector, and then we'll have a look at the portal and how that data is actually presented back to you, and some of the things that you can do with that. So, here's Steve. What is Live Optics? Well, Live Optics is it's a free piece of software that's been developed by Dell EMC for the community. What it allows you to do is to go and collect performance and configuration data from across your IT systems. It's a very lightweight piece of software, requires no installation. There are no agents required for remote collection, and it makes no modifications to your systems. So it's a very good piece of software in the fact that you don't need to install anything. And when you collect the data, what it'll do, it'll allow you to send that back to the web servers at Dell EMC, and you can either choose to live stream that, or you can, if you've got a dark side, for instance, you can create a local file, and that will be an encrypted file that you can then send back for upload to the web servers for analysis at a time you're choosing. Once that data is received, as I say, it will go through the analysis servers, and it will then be presented back to you, and that's by means of a web portal, and you can view data within the web portal, and there are various different reports that you can download from the web portal, so things like PDFs, PowerPoint presentations, and Excel spreadsheets. So yeah, what it does, it allows you to measure, to analyze, and in some cases it'll allow you to blend workload characteristics, which we'll talk a little bit about later. And all of that is accessible via a web portal. So as I said, there's nothing to install to collect the data. When you want to analyze data, have a look at it, that's via a web portal. So nothing to install to actually have a look at that data. And obviously being a web portal, it's accessible from anywhere. So it's all very simple to use. Some of the typical use cases, and this list I've got on here by no means is exhaustive. Some of them would be things like baselining, it's great for that. Things like health checks, so how are we looking, how's our systems looking, are we in good shape? It'll allow you to identify systems that are maybe underperforming, to have a look at why they're underperforming and what you can do to rectify that. It's also good for looking at, for finding things like small issues that may be otherwise overlooked, and those sort of issues that can very quickly become a huge issue and then cause you lots of pain. So that's really good. And any of the information actually that that you're looking at can be looked at from an individual system or server. It can be looked at work group level and even data center level. So you can look all the way down from data center to an individual machine or individual disk within the software. The other useful thing that we have is an inventory mode. And that allows you, if you're not interested in collecting performance data, say you've got a bunch of machines, but you're not actually totally sure what the configuration of them is, and you want to find out, you can point the software at a certain machine or a group of machines, and you can bring back the inventory information from that. And what that will do, it'll create a local Excel file for you, and it will populate that with all sorts of information about those machines, from things like service tag, IP addresses, through to memory, and even a disk used and disk free space. So there's a whole load of good information you can get back purely from the inventory mode on this software. We've also got workload consolidation. Some people use it for, so maybe you've got some VMs that you're looking to bring in from one hypervisor and put on to another host. What you can do is you can run the collectors against the VMs and against the hosts that you want to move those to, and actually you can combine that workload as one, and you can see what the requirements would be if you were to bring those together. And then in the viewer you can actually, so you can combine them, but then you can actually drop them out as well, so you can have a look at them individually, or you can have a look at combined workloads. So very useful from that point of view. And the last point on there, and so this isn't by any means exhaustive, but it is really good for decision making. So purely from the point of view that actually you can very quickly gain an insight into your systems, whether that be a single system or it be a bunch of systems, and then you can very quickly share that amongst your peers. So whether it's within the online viewer, or whether that's downloading the reports, which you can actually tailor as well to a degree, and passing those reports on, and even sharing the data outside of Live Optics users. So the decision making is a really good thing about it, because certainly when you want to create a report and give that to somebody at a higher level to make decisions around perhaps purchasing, there are reports and levels of reporting that you can give to those people that will give them a really nice view of what's happening and to back up whatever it is you're looking to ask from them. So Live Optics plays in kind of 4 areas. We've got server virtualization, and then we have some specialist areas. We have the file area, we have data protection, and we have storage. And each of these areas have their own specialized collectors. So on the left of the screen, we've got the server virtualization piece. So the collector for that is called Optical Prime. And that actually came from a past piece of software that Dell had called DPAC, which some of you may or may not have heard of. But what it allows you to do, and this collector is probably the most used out of all of them. You know, I'd say probably 90% of the time, this is what I see people use. This will be used as opposed to this kind of specialized collectors on the right-hand side of the screen, which all have their place and are very good as well. But the Optical Prime collector for the server virtualization piece, it works as a from the host level down. So it allows you to point a collector at one or more systems. And there are many systems supported, which we'll show you in a minute. And it does profile from the host down. So host all the way down to things like storage. It will show disks. It will show things like performance. It will show you software information, VM characteristics. The collector can actually be pointed at either physical servers, virtual machines, or also hypervisors. So when you're pointing at hypervisors, you'll be bringing back information about the guest VMs within that, that actual host. Moving on to the kind of specialized collectors on the right-hand side of the screen. Top one there is a file collector, and that's known as Dossier. And actually that did come from a previous Dell piece of software, which was known as DPAC-F. And what this does is it allows you to target individual file systems, and the collector will go and scan those file systems. It'll walk them, and what it'll do, it'll characterize the files, it will give you information on growth, and what it'll also do, which is very nice, is that it will give you an idea of the potential compression and deduplication that you could achieve on those files. So that's a really nice, nice function of that collector. We also have the data protection collectors, and that allows you to point the collector at certain supported backup vendors, and it will bring back information about front-end capacity protected, backup cycles. It'll give you growth information and also information around the backup set. So again, that's very nice information that you can make use of. And the last one there is the storage collectors. So this is a specialized collector again, and it's supported against certain storage arrays. And what it will do, it will give you in-depth capacity, in-depth configuration information, and also in-depth performance information on those arrays. So, you know, if you're not sure if your array is performing, then you can have a look at that, have a look at the performance information. If you're looking to upgrade your storage array and you're not exactly sure how it's configured or what your usage of it is, then again, that's really useful tool for you to use and point at your storage array. So that's kind of the areas that Live Optics plays in. How does it work? Well, I mentioned that there's collectors. So what you need to do is to download the particular collector that you want to use. And with this session today, we're kind of focusing more on the Live Optics Optical Prime collector, which is the one that I said is kind of 90% of people use. We mentioned and talked about the specialist collectors, but we're kind of focusing on that one. So you would download collector. That collector, once you've got it, you'll decide what systems you want to target with that, and you would decide how you're going to upload that information, whether that be live streaming it or whether that be creating a local encrypted file and then uploading that manually at a later date. And once you've done that, you decide on a duration that collector is going to run. Having done that, you set the collector off. Once the collector's run, the information uploaded to the Dell EMC web servers that say either manually by yourselves if you've got a dark site or live streamed. That will be run through their analytics engine and it will be presented back to you within the viewer so that you can analyze that data, you can manipulate it, and you can also from there you can start to share it with other people, which is great. And all of that information will be held in the cloud for you, accessible via the web portal, and you can go back to it at any time and you can manipulate, you can run reports off. It will be there as long as you want it. Okay, so that's kind of what you get and how it works. As I mentioned, we use collectors to gather the information. Okay, and the collectors can be downloaded from the portal. They are available for both Windows and Linux platforms, and that's in 32 and 64-bit. Slight difference between the two collectors. The Linux collector only allows you to collect information from Linux systems. The Windows collector, however, allows you to collect information from any of the supported operating systems. So we'll have a look at what sort of platforms are supported in a minute to give you an idea, but it's pretty much most of the major operating systems. So with the collector, you can collect information from a single machine or as many machines as you like in one run. So as it says, able to access as many as one aggregator. There's no agents involved in those collections, and as I said earlier, there's no installation required. It runs in memory and makes no modifications to your system. The way it collects the information is via operating system or vCenter, for instance. We don't connect directly to hardware and get information from that, but we will report back some of the hardware basic information, okay? And there's a whole load of information that it's brought back, which we'll have a look at later, but things like read writes, IOPS, operating system version, guest VM details, virtual CPUs, there's a whole load of information that it will bring back for you. Okay, so I mean, that's the collector, that's kind of how it works. As I said, there's a bunch of operating systems supported. Most of the major ones are supported, and I don't expect anyone to kind of read through this slide, but it's really to give you an idea of what is supported. And this is fairly fluid, it's changing, systems being added to it all the time. And the three types of collection are locally on the machine you're running the collector on, and remotely from any other system that is supported. And the other column there just says whether data can be collected remotely or not. One very quick thing to point out here down the bottom, we've got three operating systems that aren't supported. So that's Mac OS, AIX, and BSD. But as I say, it's fairly fluid. That is changing all the time and it's being updated. So the collectors, again, as I said, there's kind of the four areas. So you've got the server virtualization, the storage, the file, and the data protection. This will give you an idea of the type of output you can get once you've run that collection on various different either storage, visual virtualization, data protection, or file. And if you look at the top right-hand corner as an example, so the optical prime collector, which is, as I said, mostly used by people, that will give you an output via the online viewer. It'll allow you to produce PDF reports. It'll allow you to produce PowerPoint reports and also Excel spreadsheets. Some of the other collectors there are not available via the online viewer, but they do allow you to download comprehensive reports, whether that be a PowerPoint, Excel, even PDF. And this list here is constantly changing. So the existing collectors are being updated, and there are a number of new collectors that are coming in from time to time, and they have a roadmap with certain things that they actually want to add in as well. So move on. How do you get access to Live Optics? Well, it's simple. At the end of this webinar, you're going to receive an email. That will have a URL in it. Just use that URL to register, create a password for yourselves. Once you're registered, you will have access to the online portal, which we can move on. So the online portal home screen this is what you'll see when you get access. Very, very clean. It's simple, easy to use, intuitive. From the portal, you can download any of the collectors that you wish to run. You can view, create projects. So when you run a collection, it automatically creates a project, and that's where you'll see all of your analysis information. Anytime you've run a collection, you can see that from there, and you can also edit profile details. So what I'm going to do now is to give you a better view of that, is to go into a quick demo. So first of all, we're going to run a collection. We're going to run an optical prime collector to give you an idea of what that looks like, and then we're going to jump into the portals to have a look at what the output would look like. So,
okay, Nick. So if you're ready to share your screen, will we test the technology?
Yeah. Okay. Can you see that?
Yeah, it's good to go.
Yep. Okay. So this is a collector that I downloaded previously. So once you run, click on the executable, and I said there's no installation, runs in memory, you will see something similar to this. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And it gives me the option to run a collection from any of the 4 areas that we mentioned. So virtualization server, you've got the storage file, data protection. We're focusing today on optical prime, so I'm going to run through that. Just very quickly to show you the other options. You've got the dossier collector, you've got various storage arrays supported there, and various backup vendors supported. As I said, we're going to run through the optical prime one. So because I've run this collector before, it knows that, and it's saying to me, you've run this before, do you want to keep the configuration settings that you previously used? I'm going to say no for the sake of this demo. And then what I need to do is I need to tell it how we want to send the data back to Dell EMC. So top option there, which I'm going to use, is to stream it live. However, not everyone's going to be able to do that. It could be a dark site, firewall rules, etc., that could stop you doing that. So you have the option, the second one down, is to create a local file, and that would be an encrypted file that you can then, at a time of your choosing, upload to the web servers. And that can either be done from here with the upload SIO kit, or within the portal you have a similar option. The last option there is the inventory mode, which I mentioned, and that will go away and it won't collect any performance data at all. It will purely collect configuration information about the service you target, and it doesn't even need to connect back to the portal. What it will do, it will create a local Excel spreadsheet for you with all the valid information in. So we're going to do a live stream. Click next. Then we need to say what servers or systems we're going to target, and there's a few ways that you can do this. First of all, you can add, so from the machine that you're running, you can add remote systems, and you have several options to add remote systems. I can add a Windows server. That could either be a physical or a virtual server. I can add a vCenter server, so that will go away and it will look at the vCenter server and potentially give me information on all of the VMs that are in there and the performance of the hypervisor. And the last one is to add the Linux servers. So what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to add my local system, so I'm not going to use any of those. So we're going to choose the second option here. And as I said earlier, you can add one or more. It isn't a single system collector. I can add as many as I like in here, whether they be remote or local. So just click that. It will take a second or two just to get the information about my local system. And then once that comes back, if I wanted to, I could start that straight away. But what I just want to show you before that is that you've also got an option to add do a Active Directory search. If you're going to use this option, I would recommend that you only scan servers for obvious reasons, because you don't want to be picking up people's laptops and things that aren't in the domain. And the last one is if you've got a text file with a server list in there, then you can actually import that as well. So having selected my one or more systems to scan, the next thing you need to do is just choose a duration. Okay, so by default, 24 hours is selected, and that is the recommendation from Dell EMC. However, you do have options to choose from 10 minutes all the way through to 7 days. For this, because we're doing a demo, I'm going to select 10 minutes. The 10-minute one is also very useful if you're just doing an inventory as well. You don't need to be picking up performance data over time, so you can run that for a short period of time and collect that information. So we've selected the systems, we've selected the duration. We're going to start the capture. Okay, so that capture is now running. Okay, we're going to leave that running. And what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the portal. Okay. So let me just log on here. Okay, so this is the screen we saw before in the PowerPoint presentation, and this is your welcome screen. And immediately that we come in here, I can see down here, actually I've got a collection running. So that's the one that we just kicked off. So because we're live streaming, we can see that there. And if I was to click on project here, it would take me in and I would see some information. Obviously, until the collector's totally run, it's not going to be fully populated with all the information we need, but you can actually see some information as it's streaming in. From the home screen, there's a few things you can do. So first, most importantly, you can download your collectors here. If you have run a collection and you want to upload it, you can upload it from here. As I mentioned before, you can upload that from the collector as well. Any projects, so past projects that you've been looking at, you can search for here as well. And there's a list of any time that you've run a collector, so you can go back and see what you've run and when you've run it. So what I'm going to do now, we've got a collection running that's live, but I'm going to jump into one that was that's run and been processed previously. Okay, and when you come into the collection, or sorry, the project, there's three tabs you can see. You've got environment, performance, and virtual. The environment is basically a very high level kind of roll up aggregate of all of the systems that you've scanned with that collection. Okay, so we can see total of 96 cores, 18 CPU sockets, memory used, capacity used, capacity free. All of that is at a very high level, and it's across everything that you scan. We can also see the types of servers that we scanned. So we scanned 8 servers. You can see there's a ratio of 19 VMs, the hypervisor. And what's quite useful here is we can see the number of physical servers that we've scanned. If those physical servers are actually hypervisors, they'll be listed under the hypervisor section here. And then we have a number of virtual machines. We've got one of those, and that would be where we've actually pointed the collector directly at a VM rather than discovering it through vCenter server. And the VMs that we discover via vCenter server would be guest VMs. Okay. We can also see operating systems within the environment. We can see the server manufacturers, and we don't care what the manufacturer is. We will, as long as the OS is supported, we'll report back information on any of that hardware. And down the bottom here, we get the top 5 servers which we can sort by a chosen metric. Okay, that gives us the top 5 servers, and then the last column over on the right here is basically a roll up of all of the other servers that we scanned in the system, so you can do a comparison. For the detailed performance information, we go to the performance tab. Okay, so 2 halves of the screen here. Over on the left, this is a list of everything that we've scanned with our collection. Okay, and on the right is a reflection of what we select on the left here, and it will give us information about that. So on the right, just to quickly explain, there's a few different icons here. So first one is the actual collector. So we did a single collection run, and that's what we can see there. And below that, we have various items that we scan. So we've got a list of hypervisors, and that can be either standalone or it can be clustered. We then have a section for virtual servers. That's where I've targeted directly a VM rather than scanning it through for instance, the vCenter server or the hypervisor. And at the bottom, we've got clustered disks. And there would be, if I just scanned a physical server that wasn't a hypervisor, that would show here in a separate section as a physical server. So going back to the right-hand side of the screen to quickly explain some of the detail that you get there. At the moment, I've selected project level. Okay, so all of the information that I have on the right-hand side is going to be a roll-up of everything that I scanned. Okay, so it's all aggregated. So the graphs that you can see there, there's a whole bunch of those that I can have a look at. And with any graph, what's really neat is that you can actually change the timeline. So within the time period that we scanned, if I just decide I want to look at, I don't know, from 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, then I can adjust that. Okay, and that's the same for all of the graphs. So that's very useful. There's a whole bunch of information, things like list of the servers, and whenever you see a table like this within the viewer, you're always going to see an option to export to CSV. So if you need to get that information out and use it for another purpose, then you can do that. Also, all of the columns, they're all searchable. So if I want to search for a particular server, I could put the IP address or the server name in here. I could search for that and it would bring the information back. Okay. So there's a whole bunch of information here, cluster diffs, installed applications, guest VMs, all sorts of stuff in there. And at the moment, we're looking at a project level. So what you can do is you can start to drill down. So I could drill down, I could say, okay, well, all I want to do is to look at an ESX host. And this is start to drill, and that will give me all the details about that particular host. I could say, actually, I want to look at a particular VM that we've scanned. Okay, so that's now looking at that individual VM, and all of the information that it gives me here will be about that VM. Okay, within a machine, you can drill down and you can look at individual disks. You can even look at network interface cards. Okay, and you can get throughput for that. So there's a lot of information that you can get there at various different levels. One very useful thing that we can do here is to actually start to manipulate the data that we've got in here. So if, for instance, I didn't want to include this virtual machine in the results, I can take it out, I can hit recalculate, and that will recalculate all of the information on the right-hand side, taking out that server. And if I did that with a few servers, what I can do here is I can actually hide those. So I can focus on the machines that I've actually got in the right-hand side of the screen. So also, once you've taken it out, it's not gone forever, you can always put it back in. Okay, I'm just going to pop that back in there so that we don't lose it. That's kind of the performance, that's very brief performance data today. There's loads in there and there's a lot you can do with manipulators. So if you wanted to, for instance, bring some VMs into another hypervisor, then you can do the scan of both of those and you can exclude them, you can include them in this to see what the differences are. The last tab we've got here is the virtual tab, and that gives you is some of the information really around the virtual estate. You get things like useful sort of virtual CPU ratios, you've got things like your capacity used with flammable space, and on the physical side, we can see total VMs and we can see the number running. We've got 52 running at 133, the memory and the number of hosts that are used to host these machines. And the lower half of the screen just simply gives you a list of all the VMs that are there. So the last sort of thing I want to show you is how to share the information. And you can share the information both within Live Optics to other Live Optics users, or you can actually share the information with people outside of Live Optics. So the way you do that is to publish your project. By doing that, it will create a unique URL that you can send to the user. All of the data will be anonymized. So when they click on that URL and they see the results, things like your IP addresses and all of that will be exchanged for nonsense data. Okay. The other way to do it is to share the project with users that have access to Live Optics, and you can either give them a link to the project, which will allow them to manipulate that project and play around with it as you do. And the other option is to give them a copy of that project. And again, you've got the option there when you do the copy to anonymize that as well. So if it was another user of Live Optics and you didn't want to see that certain information, then you can anonymize that. And the last thing really here is the reports. So you can create PowerPoint, PDF reports. You can name those reports however you like. There's a whole bunch of things that you can include or exclude, through the report, and it will give you an estimation of how many slides that's going to be before you create it. And then when you're ready, you can create that report, and it will be saved here. And these reports can be downloaded. They are available here. That they will stay there for as long as you want them to. So you can come back, revisit them. You can create multi-reports at any time you like. And that's kind of a very, very quick run through of the Live Optics collector and software. So the only thing I'd say is that there's loads and loads of different uses for it. It's free. Download it, have a go, play with it, and I'm sure you'll find it very useful.
That's great. Thanks for that, Nick. That's really good. So what we can do now is take some questions, Nick, to put you on the spot. So everyone, you can see a Q&A box on your screen. So if you want to sort of fire away some questions, you can ask them anonymously. So feel free. So Nick, are you ready to let's test you out now? So I've got a quick question from John about restrictions in terms of size of the environment. Are there any restrictions?
No, I mean, if you're doing something like an inventory, you can run it on thousands and thousands of machines, and that will be fine. With the online viewer, the only thing I would say about restrictions is if you're trying to view it in line and you're making changes and you've got, say, thousands of machines in there, then it can take quite a while to actually recalculate any information. So it's like anything, when you're processing information, the more stuff that you've got in there, the longer it's going to take when you adjust it or when you try and get that information back.
Okay. Great, thanks. A question now on from Simon on versions. Is there an advanced license version of this, or is everything included in this sort of free web-based version, Nick? Yeah,
no licensing. This is totally free. It isn't like one of those kind of first one's free and then we'll suck you in and take your money. It's absolutely free, with the purpose of making it easy for people to understand their environment, and be able to make decisions around that environment. So no, it is absolutely free, and there are no plans to charge for it.
Okay, cool. And I've got, I think it looks like the final one from Brian. Do I need to undertake any specific training because it looks quite comprehensive, Nick? There's a lot of detail in there. So what about training? Is there any specific training that anyone would need?
So first of all, absolutely, you don't need to undertake any training to be able to use it. It is fairly intuitive. It's nice, clean. It's like most good pieces of software where once you start to use it, you just get a feel for it and you can kind of find your way around it very easily. There's a whole load of stuff online that you can find around Live Optics that will show you how to do certain things, which will be really useful. The Live Optics portal has a help section in it, which is very good as well, and that'll explain all sorts of different things as well. As you said, it is very comprehensive. There's a lot of things you can do with it and a lot of different ways you can tweak it. What I would say is, it is free. Download it, have a play with it. If you think you'd like to do something and you can't quite work it out, have a look at the help pages first of all. Have a look at just have a look online. There's plenty of YouTube videos of people showing you how to do certain things. So there's a whole load of information out there that will help you use it. But as I say, it's very intuitive and it's fairly easy to use.
And I think at the end of the day, we're always on the end of the phone if people do need any help or got any specific questions. So again, I'll say for anyone who's trying it, we just scratched the surfaces today. Then by all means, just get in touch with us, and we're always there to help. So okay, great, thanks for that, Nick. So
you're welcome.
That's the sort of question. So what I'm going to do now, really, is for a sort of summarise and close, just launch a poll really for everyone to give us some feedback. So you should be able to see that now. So again, we're running these webinars every couple of weeks. We've got a schedule built out for the next few months. It's always good to get feedback from everyone. So appreciate if you take the time to just to complete that brief poll, because we do take the feedback seriously, and we fine tune moving forward. If you do have any further questions, then by all means, get in touch with your account manager or drop me an email, and we'll answer them for you. Like I say, we took a few questions today, but if there's anything specific, maybe once you've downloaded the collectors and you need any further help, then please get in touch with us. We're always there to help. So, Nick, appreciate you taking the time out today. I know we've only really sort of tip of the iceberg there, and it's always difficult on a live demo what to actually show customers from the point of view of the detail. So I think what it has highlighted is a raft of information that can be collected from Live Optics point of view. So thanks for your support on the webinar today, Nick, much appreciated. For everyone who's joined us, hopefully you've found that useful. We try to cram a lot into sort of 30 minutes or so, just to give you a flavour of the particular technology. So hopefully you found it useful. Again, part of season 2 of INOOT. Our next one's on Friday the 13th of September. Unlucky for some, but we are working with Cisco Meraki folks on cloud management and how to sort of simplify traditional networking through cloud-based management solutions. So Cisco Meraki in 2 weeks' time, Friday the 13th of September. So that's it for today. Hopefully everyone enjoyed it. Thanks for taking the time out, and enjoy the rest of your Friday, everyone. Thank you very much.